These altcoins could make you rich this season. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet, and we don't know that. We don't know that they will make you rich. You got to work a little bit harder. So we had some support at 108 on Bitcoin. We had that reversal, inverse head and shoulders playing out. We were trying to see a close on this candle and try and get that next push up with the upcoming days. Could we see a further retracement? Yes, the 200 EMA is getting a little bit tighter on the 108. So it's pretty strong support here at 108. We'd have to have some pretty massive sell-off to come down and touch this 200 EMA now, and it looks a lot more bullish. With that being said, we're just going to start off with XCN and get it out of the way for everybody who just watches for it. See how it works with analytics for retention. And we see that we had this previous low like we've been talking about for weeks. We could see this potential drop down to 0.008, but it's less likely now than it was before. The reason for that being is we were holding support on 0.01 more or less, and we were starting to get a little bit of stability. We've seen that in the past, holding on this upward trend line where we got a little bit of stability, and then we broke down underneath it. Now what we are expecting, if Bitcoin pushes up, for this to test this upward trend line, and ultimately we need to break through that and the 200 EMA to start seeing that movement up towards this down red trend line. Could we see that pullback? It's a possibility, but it's less likely now than it was about 7 days ago. Currently at 0.01 cents, all-time high of 18 cents. You do the math, but the entry right now is not a bad point. Even if it does that pullback, the risk to reward ratio is a lot higher on the reward than it would be on the risk. 20% potential down, maybe a little bit more. And the potential up is about, just to get to the all-time high, 1,595, almost 1,600%. And usually when it reaches all-time highs, it has a tendency to double that. So almost 3,000%. If you miss the 2,000% pump on XCN, there's still the second opportunity. And we've seen that when we had the consolidation underneath the 200 EMA, we had a rapid push right beyond it and just disregarded any kind of downward trend line that we previously had. So now we have this one. Could we just blast through it to around 0.02 cents, even up to 0.04 cents? That is a possibility. And then once we make it up to around the 0.0405, when it breaks that 0.049, or roughly 0.05, then there's not a whole bunch of resistance to make it to the 10-cent mark. Beyond 10 cents, not a whole bunch of resistance to 18 cents. So getting in at the bottom is definitely what you want to be doing, and XCN is right where it is at. Not financial advice. XYO, long consolidation period as expected, longer than anybody usually plans to hold a coin. And we see that when people are selling off here, immediately after it had that pump, we're going to be breaking downward trend line, 200 EMA. The RSI is not on here, but I'm sure it's healthy at the 50% mark. And we are about to test this 200 EMA yet again. We may get a little bit of rejection and kind of ease our way over this downward trend line. And then once we are over that downward trend line, the 200 EMA is a lot more weak and it's easier to pass, and we could expect a push back up to 0.013. Beyond that, roughly in these two red line areas around 0.016 to 0.17. Beyond that, 0.025, and then finishing out the cup and handle pattern a lot higher than that. Currently at a cent. If you're looking at XCN, XYO is definitely a good one to be keeping an eye on, as well as we do have a lot more data from the previous years in XYO. But XCN is definitely a Hail Mary. If you're holding a big bag, it's going to be one of the bigger profitable coins, similar with XYO. We're going to sneak in Tornado, the only coin that's been bullish throughout this entire slaughter. Of all the other cryptocurrencies, you can trade it on Mexi. References in the description below. Always recommended that you use a VPN. But jumping out of that, because we're already in profit about 100% on Tornado Cash, XDC is one to keep in mind. We were talking about it holding up above that 200 EMA. We see that there's a lot of volume picking up. We still have 5 hours left for this to be closing above this upward trend line. If that happens, we can start seeing some more bullish momentum. If it does not happen, we might see some consolidation before ultimately pushing up and testing that line once more, keeping in mind that it is at the 618 Fibonacci retracement, which tends to be the reversal point for most cryptocurrencies. Now moving from the top to the bottom, the 618 would be right back up at this downward trend line around 0.09 cents. So pretty good potential run up, keeping in mind that it's not looking as healthy as it was just a few days ago, but also keeping in mind that Bitcoin is starting to do its reversal. Last one I'm throwing in here is XVM because it got the most views in the shorts. And XVM got slaughtered. There's people selling their Porsches, $60,000 entering here at 4 cents, thinking it was going to the moon. That did not happen. Obviously, they lost 75% of their account within a few days here. These are 15-minute bars on the daily. They just got destroyed. Whoever was entering in at 0.04, currently at 0.015. Keeping in mind BlackRock is using this. But wait for your entry. We do kind of see that there is an upward trend line somewhat forming, but nothing too stable to be entering into a position for Volt or XVM. We kind of want to see it break this previous high. Even then, we'd want to see a little bit more bullish momentum to enter into the 0.02 and ride it up to 0.04. But I am personally staying out of this one as there needs to be more data to understand what the market is going to be throwing at you. So that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you want. And get some tornado before it's too late. All-time high of 459, currently at $14. Good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.